Hello, I am Lori Jacobs with Hardworking Mom, and today I'm going to show you how to do a mantle piece, so a garland for your mantle. And I actually purchased this mantle piece, this garland, without the lights in it. But the first thing I want to show you is how you can quickly fluff these out. So this works a lot better if you have a second person. However, if you don't, so if you have a second person, what you can do is one person can hold on one end and one can hold on the other end, and you shake it vigorously. If you're by yourself, then just do one side at a time. However, if you have a second person with you, it works really well. You just vigorously shake it, get it all loose. And then it is much easier to go ahead and start with your garland. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my lights in. So I'm going to start from where my light kit is, where my plug-in is. And I've already stretched this all out. So this is where we're going to start. All right. So I'm going to come to the other end, and we're going to start off on this end over here and end up on this end. Alright, and I like to do this because it helps to make sure I don't have anything twisted, and I have these nice little tiny lights. They show up very well. Alright, so we have the end. So I'm just going to grab it and I'm going to start it at this end. I'm going to tie it around and tie one of my greenery ties around it. Okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist the garland around to make sure that I get my lights in place, and I'm going to hold my lights and twist the garland. Okay, so now we've gotten through the lights, and you can see they are spread out well. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add on a little bit of mesh, because I want to elevate this, make it a little bit larger, and so we're going to do that using mesh. When I like to attach mesh to something, I like to use this. So this is a mesh roller. Okay, and our theme is going to be gold and white. So we're just going to add on some simple gold mesh. So this is a metallic mesh. And the way you can tell that is it has the metallic strip in it. So you can see it has that metallic strip that gives it that sheen. Alright, so I'm just going to attach it to my mesh roller. And then I'm going to start working at one end and work to the other side. So I'm going to turn the lights out while I work. And one thing you can be aware of is down at the end of these little pieces here you can use to attach things. But I like to kind of put my wire through here and then just make a little loop so that I can keep my wire in place, so that I will be able to keep that piece that we're going to use to plug it in later. Alright, so to start off, I'm going to start on the other end, and I'm going to come in this direction. And it's because I'm right-handed. If you're left-handed, you would want to put everything on the other side and go in the opposite direction. Alright. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by taking our mesh and gathering it at the end so that we make a little gathered piece. So this is going to be the start of our poof. Okay, so we're going to take this poof and I'm going to have to start pulling out some of this greenery because as we twisted, some of it got twisted with it. I'm going to take this piece and I'm actually going to attach it to my evergreen. So I'm going to attach this to my garland using a green zip tie. Now you don't have to use a green zip tie. I just like to do this because then you can't really tell as much where I place this on. So this is going to secure it a little bit better than just using a tie. Now for the rest of the garland, we are going to just tie it in with the greenery piece. But that first one, I like to make sure it is secure. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an evergreen piece and I'm just going to run it across where I tied that in so you can't see where that is. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to make small poofs. So about 8 to 10 inches. So you just kind of want to come over and then pull it back. And you're just going to tie it with one piece of greenery. So just tie the piece of greenery around it and then pull it out. All right. So again, we're going to go over. So this is about 10 inches. Now if you have a mat or a ruler, you are welcome to measure it that way. Or you can just estimate it. It does not have to be perfect. All right. So we're just going to keep doing this. We're going to do it all the way down. Okay, so this is going to bring our color scheme in. And the lights are going to reflect off this very well. Okay, so I will just trim this piece off and we are done with the mesh. So the next step in making a garland is going to be to find the center. So when I'm working on garlands or anything large, one of the things that I want to make sure I do is I find the center point and I'm going to mark it because I'm going to put a bow there and that bow is going to be one of my largest elements. So when I'm working on projects, I'm going to work from my largest elements to my smallest elements. So I will just take my garland, I will hold it together, find the center. Okay, so here's my center right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark that center so that I can keep track of where my center is. So I'm just putting a pipe cleaner on here right now because that's going to help me keep track of where that center is. Okay. All right, so the next big element is going to be our bow, our center bow. So generally speaking, when I'm making a garland, I'm going to make a nice large bow for the center, and I'm going to make 2 bows for the ends. You can also make 2 bows to go at the end of the fireplace so that you end up having 1 in the middle, 2 on the sides, and 2 at the ends. It really is personal preference as to how you like to do that. Okay, so let's discuss our ribbon. So we're sticking with the gold and white theme. So I have several gold and white ribbons here. Now when I am working with a large project like this, and I want my bow to be really stand out and spectacular, I'm going to start off with a 4-inch ribbon in the back. So 4-inch ribbon is going to really help puff up your bow and keep it off of the garland. So when you make bows and you are putting it onto a garland, what's going to happen as you tie it down is the bow is going to start to sink into the garland. However, if you have something large in the back, that's going to help prevent that. If you don't have 4-inch ribbon, you can also use your mesh. You can actually make a couple loops with your mesh just like you would with anything else. So you would place it in. You would want to twist it just like normal. And you're going to act like it's ribbon. So normally the ones that I have in the back are going to be approximately 7 inches. So remember, you're not really going to see this part. This is going to be what's holding up your bow. Okay, so that's all you would need is one good loop. Then you can just trim it off. You can also do a ruffle to put in the back. But this really works well to help really puff up your bow. Okay? So let's start off with our 4-inch ribbon. Okay. So I like to start off with a dovetail. So a dovetail is simply folding your ribbon in half and cutting towards this wired edge. Okay, so in a project like this, you really want to use wired edges. The next thing I need to know is how long my tails are going to be. So I will go and eyeball on my project about how long my tails are going to be. So I'm going to do about 10 inches on the tail. So I just place it down in the bow maker and I'm going to twist it right in the center. Okay. It's going to be the same length as this mesh, so 7 inches. So 7 inches is a great start for a large bow, for the back of the bow. Okay. I'm going to do 2 loops, both 7 inches. And if you're using a bow maker, you can go ahead and pull these out. Alright, then I'm just going to trim this off and I'm going to dovetail this as well. So this really starts our project off, setting off our colors that we really want to have in this project. Okay, so this is the next, actually let's do this. Okay, so we're going to do this color next. So we're going to break up the white and gold and kind of speed in a little bit of gold. Now if you don't have a bow maker, there is another way that you can do these bows, and that's by hand. So you would want to measure out your 10-inch length. Okay, just hold it in your hand. And one thing you can do is you can measure on a mat from 0 to 12. That's going to give you a 6-inch loop, and that's what we want. So where you had that 12-inch, you're just going to pinch into your fingers like this. Okay, and the same thing on the other side. So you're going to go from the 0 to the 12 and pinch it in your fingers like this. Okay? So this does not require you to twist it. That's one of the reasons I really like doing it this way. Now, if you have trouble with your hands, you can put it in between your thumb and your finger right in this indentation right here. This is a little bit easier to hold. And on the second time, you can either match the first ribbon or you can measure it out again. So if you struggle matching your ribbons, make sure to measure it out again. Okay. All right, then we have our second one, and we can trim this off. So there are a lot of different bow makers on the market, and all of the bow makers really are great. If you have a very small budget for a bow maker, my suggestion would be to get a Bow-Dabra. So these are very inexpensive, and all they're really doing is they're holding your ribbon for you so that you're not having to stack it in your hands. You can also use pipe cleaners to hold each layer, and then you layer them on top, and you're going to zip tie them together. So there are multiple ways that you can do these bows. So we did 1 loop at 7 with our mesh, 2 at 7 with our white and gold. We did 2 loops. So when I say 2, I mean 2 loops at 6 inches with our gold. Okay. Now we're going to come in with our other white, and we're going to start off by dovetailing. All right. So if I put it in the bow maker, I'm going to twist it in the middle. All right. So I want it to match this gold. All right there. So 6 inch. Trim it off. And dovetail it. So we already have a nice large bow. And we can finish it off with just a little bit of some gold ribbon. You can get a great selection of ribbons at Hobby Lobby. You can also check You can also check Craft Outlet, Trendy Tree, the Wreath shop, and my shop online. So my shop is hardworkingmomstore.com. Okay, so we're finishing out with this very delicate gold, and it's very see-through, so it's going to give us just a sense of space. I like to secure my bows with a zip tie. And the reason I like to use a zip tie is because it's going to get it much tighter than I can get it with wire. It's easy to get zip ties. You can actually get them at the Dollar Tree. So all I do is kind of lift up, run my zip tie right to the middle. And I want to make sure that everything is in there. The mesh, all the ribbon, and then I can start to tie it off. Okay, now I just need to pull it out of the bow maker. So when you're doing bows like this and you have tied them with a zip tie, you want to make sure before you tighten it that you hold one side and turn this side around. So you can see by the indentation where it's supposed to go. And before you secure it completely, you can use that time to kind of pull everything out. Make sure your tails are where you want them to be. You can kind of pre-fluff a little bit. So I just kind of move my ribbons and make sure they're approximately in the place that I want them, because it's going to be much easier before I tie this down. So I'm going to pull out a second zip tie. I'm going to flip my bow over, and I'm going to put the second put the second zip tie underneath the first one. And then I'm going to pull it tight. Now while you're fluffing, you can hold all 3 pieces of the zip tie together. It really gives you a nice base to hold while you're fluffing your bow. So to fluff your bow, you actually want to twist it and pull it. I call this process breaking the bow. What that means is that you are actually just getting the bow to not be stuck down in the center where you tied it. So that breaks it and allows it to fluff up much larger. So if you have tightened it well with the zip tie, you're not going to have a problem with it pulling out. And so you really should not have an issue. Okay, so we have our bow fluffed. And I can trim off that first zip tie. Okay, and we can set this aside while we work on our other 2 bows. Okay, so for the second bow, let's do what I talked about. Okay, so let's do it by hand, and we're going to actually use a zip tie to hold it together. So on the other 2 bows, I don't want them as large, so I'm going to use the same ribbons, but in a smaller amount and a smaller length. So I will still do a 10-inch tail. Okay, so I'm going to pinch it in my hand, just like before. And one thing you want to do is make sure you have enough ribbon pulled out. I'm going to put it in my hand in between my thumb and my finger. And this time I'm also going to measure out to 7 inches. So when I am doing something large in the back, I tend to do about 7 inches. Okay, so I can measure from 0 to 14 on my mat. And you can see I'm just putting it in my hand here. I am not arranging it. I'm not putting it on top or bottom. I'm actually just putting it in and pushing it right to the center of my hand. Okay? You can use your 2 sides of your hands to make sure that these ribbons match. Okay? So we're going to do just this one. Okay? So the zip tie that you use, the pipe cleaner that you use is only going to be to hold it in place, so you only need a small amount. So a tiny little amount, as small as you can make it. All right, I'm just going to tie it on, and then I'm going to trim that zip tie off. All I want it to do is hold my ribbon in place while I am getting my other ribbons together. I'm going to go ahead and pull my tail out front. I'm going to set it down. Alright, so my next ribbon is going to be this gold. So we're going to start off by dovetailing. Alright, so 10-inch loop, 10-inch tail. Alright, and then we're going to get a 12-inch loop, so that's 6 inches. Okay. So right like that. Then I'll place it in my hand. Now here is the important thing when you're making a bow by hand. The way the ribbon is facing is going to tell you which way you need to go. If your ribbon is facing with the ugly side, then you're going to pull it across to where your hand is. If the pretty side is up, you're going to go underneath. So like a figure 8. So under, over, just like a figure 8. So we're going 0 to 12 again. All right? And you can see I just push it in together. Okay? Now, we're going to take this and we're going to go under one more time. Okay. One more loop. This ribbon is rather stiff, so sometimes when you have a ribbon that's stiff, you just have to spend a minute to work with it. Okay. Then we will trim this off. I really want both of my tails to be in the front, so I'm going to go ahead and move that tail across the top. I'm going to grab my pipe cleaner, and I'm just, again, going to do just as small amount as I can get. So you can see here, it's barely enough to cover it, because all we're doing is holding it together. All right, so I'll trim it off. This piece is going to be put on top of this piece. Okay, so you can see how we're building our bow. All right, the next one is going to be this piece. All right, so let's start off with our dovetail. So 10 inches. Pinch. Go from 0 to 12, so 6 inches. There we go. So 0 to 12, 6 inches. So see, we're just sticking it in our hand. Make sure that they match. We're only doing one so we can trim it off. Okay. Pull that across so we can make sure that our tails are going to be in the front. So you can see. Grab our zip tie and get it in place. So this is really going to help if you don't have a bow maker and you can't really afford one right now, because you can just go out and get some zip ties. All right, let's dovetail this end. Then we're going to place it on top just like we did with the other one. So now you can see we have the majority of our bow made. We just need one more piece. Okay, so we're going to pull in this little bit of gold we have. Okay, so about 10 inches. Okay, pitch. This time we're going to go to the 10 because I only want this piece to be 5 inches. So see, 0 to 10. So remember, it's just half of the measurement that you're getting. Okay, remember to pull that piece across and trim it off. So there's no need to dovetail these. With the smaller ribbon, I generally don't dovetail because I'm going to curl it. Okay, so I'm going to put my zip tie, I'm going to put my pipe cleaner around it. Yep, that's what I do. And I'm going to trim it off. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these pieces and I'm going to arrange them together right where that zip tie is. Right where that pipe cleaner is, I'm going to attach all these together. Then I'm going to take a zip tie. So I'm going to take a zip tie and I'm going to put my whole piece together. And I'm going to start getting it together. Okay? Now before I'm completely done, remember we need to put another zip tie in the back. Okay? And then we can pull it tight. Make sure all of our pieces are in line. And that's it. So we can hold the 3 pieces and we can fluff just like we did before. Okay? So remember, you want to twist and pull. The only thing different I suggest with this one to cover these pieces is to put a little bit of color around here. Okay, so we've gotten our bows done. I went ahead and did the 3rd bow. So it is just like the 2nd bow, and now we're going to put our bows in, and we're going to start adding additional things into our garland. So you can see we have 2 bows just alike that are going to go on the ends. So we're going to hold those. Then we have our large bow that we put the mesh on. That's going to go right where we marked the midpoint of our garland. So remember, we marked the midpoint of the garland, and the reason we do that is so that we can come back and we know exactly where to put our exactly where to put our ribbon. Okay. So now I'm just going to take the green zip tie that I have attached, and I'm going to put it right where I have the midpoint. Okay, and before it's completely tied on, I'm going to twist it a little bit because I want the bow to come out in this direction, because as it's sitting on the fireplace, it's going to be sitting with this towards the front. Okay? So I want to pull the zip tie up a little bit to the side so that it does not damage the fireplace mantle. And I'm going to tie it on nice and tight. And then I'm going to trim it off. Okay, so here's what I want you to notice. We tied it very tightly, but this bow did not sink in to our garland. And the reason is because we put that mesh in the back. Now let me show you what I mean. So if you have a bow and it does not have the garland on the back, then this is what happens when you tie it in tight. Okay, so you see how it starts to squish into the wreath? Well, we didn't want that to happen, so we put that mesh right on the back. Okay, so I'm going to hold off on the two bows because we're going to put those on. We're going to put those on towards the end. Okay? Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start actually decorating our garland. So I'm going to work in one section at a time. I'm going to do this side, and then we'll flip and we'll do the other side. So I have quite a few things that I have gathered up that I can put into the garland. Okay, so we have quite a few white, and we have a lot of gold, and we have gold in different finishes. So that is going to help bring depth and character into our project, and that's one of the things that you want to do. So we have this color, this shade of gold, we have this shade, and we have this shade. Then we have various white things, and so this is going to help us really give a lot of personality into our garland. Okay, so the other thing that I like to pull out is to get some basic pine pieces. I love to get these every year because what this is going to do is this is going to give more personality to our garland. So I want there to be multiple colors of greenery in here because that's what's going to really help elevate this to the next level. So I have multiple pieces of that. And I will cut this into mini pieces to add into my garland. So when I'm planning out projects, one of the things that I really like to do is look at the pieces that I pick up in picks and see how many what I would call divisions or cuts I can get in it. So you can see here, you can pull these different pieces off of this, and there are multiple cuts in here. Now you can also put this in as one whole piece, so this is one whole pick, and you can see they can go in as one piece, or if you really want to get a little bit more bang for your buck, you can divide this into many pieces. You can also find some similar items to this at the Dollar Tree. But I have both white and gold items that we're going to be adding into this. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit more greenery to it. And we are actually going to glue these in. We are also going to be adding some ribbon accents. And I'm going to be using this ribbon. This is actually a Sam's Club ribbon. And the reason I love Sam's Club ribbon is because you get 50 yards for around $7 or $8. You really can't beat that. So we're going to use some of this. It has both our white and our gold in it, and it's just a really great combination. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take my perfect tails, and I'm going to cut quite a few tails. Okay, so I just wrap this around this 13-inch ruler. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this to make tails. Okay, so tails is just a piece of ribbon that has been cut to a specific length and is used in a project. With tails, you can either dovetail the ends, or you can cut them at an angle, or you can curl them up. Okay, so we've gotten a number on here. The way these work is you run your scissors in, you cut it off, okay, and then you can cut it again in the middle, and you can see how you can quickly do a number of tails together. Okay, so let's zoom in a little. I'm going to dovetail. So what I do is I fold it over and I cut towards the edge. Okay, so this is wired ribbon. Wired ribbon is really the best for these types of projects. All right, so again, I just fold it in half and I cut right towards the edge. Okay, all right. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding in some ribbon right around where I have some of these poofs tied. All right, so all I do is I take my ribbon, I fold it in half, I just pinch it down here where I have folded it, and I use that to tell me where I need to pinch it. And then I like to do this with my hands to get this nice little curl. So I can just put it right on top of where my poof was, or is, and then tie that on, and I'm just going to poof it out like this. The other way you can do this, if you don't want to have to pull these up, is you can tie it on another piece, or you can also put a little chenille stem on here and tie it down. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we've finished one side, so we're going to keep these to use when we go to the other side. Okay, so now that we've done this part, what we're going to be doing is we're going to start greening our base up, and then we're going to add in all of our fun little items that I pulled out of my stash. So what I do is I take these pine pieces. Now these pine pieces came from a local place here in South Carolina that is called Carolina Pottery. But you can find these pine pieces in a lot of places. A lot of Hobby Lobbies will sell them. Michael's, Joann's, you just really have to look around. But this is quite a large piece, and I don't really want to go well beyond my bounds of what I already have. So I'm going to cut this into multiple pieces. And this is what I look for when I am picking out picks of any kind, whether it's greenery picks or it's some other kind of pick, whether it's florals. I'm looking to see how many pieces I can get out of it. Okay, so from this one pick, and these are very inexpensive picks. They are about $1.50 a piece. I've gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces out of that one. Okay. And I'm going to run it through my glue, and I'm going to start placing it in. So with evergreen is a tremendous base that will really hold glue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come along and I'm going to start adding some in, and this is going to help us get that extra level to our project, because we're going to be adding in another texture, another color of green, and this is really going to help the project look more natural and more high-end. I'm also looking for places that look like they need something additional. So I'm going to place this all along on both sides. So I want the outside and the inside to both have some of these greenery picks. And I am just getting a little glue on them and then actually gluing them down to the base. You do want to make sure that you are pushing it into the evergreen pieces that are on here so that you are sure it is actually gluing in. So I will push it down and make sure it's seating itself. You see how it adds that little bit extra. This is how I'm able to take a inexpensive garland and make it into a way more expensive garland. If you were to go out and purchase a garland that had all these different types of greenery and greenery colors in it, it's going to be significantly higher than if you purchase one that is on the lower end and then you just can add some pieces to help it. So the next time you're out, check and see what the difference is between the pieces that do not have a lot of extra greenery in it and the pieces that do. And you'll see that it is actually much more economical to do it yourself than it is to purchase that. It's also a lot more fun, and you get to control what goes into your project. Okay, so remember, we're cutting this into multiple pieces. Right? Because we don't need large pieces, we really just need some extra to go into our piece. Right? You do not need a ton of glue on it. And I'm just going all along, so I'm putting it every couple of inches because I want it to look like it is really came with part of the garland with this already in it. Another important factor is to make sure you're going in the same direction. This is really going to make a big difference when you are putting these types of projects together. It can be confusing for the eyeball if they're going in different directions. If you put everything in the same direction, so I'll put it up in this direction, and on the other side I'll put it going in this direction, that helps the eye flow. Okay. So you see how it just looks like it's a natural part of the project. And that's exactly what we want. Okay. So I am just coming in, placing it down, and I am going back and forth. So one of the things when you are doing a project that's really great is to go back and forth, because that's going to help you keep your balance on your piece. Okay, so I'm going to quickly do the other side. Okay, so now both sides are equal, and so we're going to start adding in some of our fun elements. So I have a gold poinsettia for both sides. They are slightly different, and that is totally okay as long as they're still in the same color scheme. I have this really gorgeous green one that we're actually going to be putting behind the bow to plump up that area a little bit. Okay. And we have quite a few things that we're going to be putting into our project. So here is the other gold. So remember we talked about how doing various shades is going to help it make it look more natural. So that's what I have. I have a few different colors here, but they're going to work within our project because we're going to blend all those in together. Okay, so we have one for this side and we have one for the other side. I also have a few gold magnolia leaves. These are wonderful. So if you find magnolia leaves, you can actually paint them gold yourself. We only have a few, so I'm really just going to put them in a few places, but they will add a little bit of shine for us in that area. Okay. So I want approximately the same number of items on the sides. So what I normally do is I will divide things up. So I know I have a couple of these picks. So I'll have one for this side, one for the other side. I have some white little ball ornaments. I have some white picks. I have some gold picks. I have some white leaves. I also have some gold leaves. Okay. So here's my gold leaves. I also have this awesome little pick of another color of gold. Right, I have this set of leaves. I have these gold little ball picks. So here's our second one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide them up, and I'm going to put the ones for the other side over here on my table. So it doesn't have to be exact, but you want to make sure that you are following the elements that you put on one side to the other side. So that's really going to help balance. So we have, so this is going to be what's going to go on the other side. All right, so we have these. All right, we're going to put 2 leaves in, one of our garlands. Okay. All right, some of this pick. Okay. Right, we'll take some of this. Right. Take a little of this. So remember, it doesn't have to be exact. You just really want to have elements on this side to be on the other side. Okay. All right, so we'll take about half of this. Okay, so So I have some nice white ball picks. Okay. Alright, so we're going to divide this up. Let's leave that. We have 4 ornaments, so we'll put 2 here. And this we're going to add around our bow. Alright, so let's get started. So this is the front side of our project. So you really want to make sure that you kind of spread it out. You don't want it all in the front. You don't want it all in the back. So I have the front part facing me because the first thing that I want to do is place this large piece behind the bow. So one thing I like to do is to make sure that I have elements in and around the bow that are going to help it stay in the project. Okay? Alright, so I'm just going to kind of sneak it in behind the bow, glue it to these greenery pieces. I am bending it up, alright, because you're not going to see this very well, but you will see some. Okay. Alright, so we have our other flower. I'm going to put it about halfway. Alright, I'm going to take this leaf out because I'm actually going to move it. So I really want this to be more on the top. So I'm actually going to kind of slide it in here. Okay. And then I'll just make sure it's glued down correctly. I'll take this other leaf and I'm going to put it in behind it. Okay, because that's going to look more natural to have the leaves right near it. Okay. Then I'm going to start dividing up these things and we're going to start placing them around the project. So I want to cut this into as many pieces as possible so that I can really stretch it and I don't have too many pieces all in one spot. So I will cut them at natural breaks where I'm able to. Okay, so you see. So you can see I can get multiple cuts out of these and that's what I want. Because that's going to give me more items to spread throughout our project. That's going to look a lot more natural. Okay. So I'll cut this one into 2 pieces. This one I'm just going to keep in these little sections they're in. Alright. This one has a lot on it. So I will pull it off and I will start breaking them apart. So they're really cute like this. Okay. See how it has just a little section. Alright. So we've gotten several. I'm cutting it so that there's about 1 inch to put into our project. Now here's what's important to remember when you start this process. Remember, we have everything going in this direction. So when we put our picks in, we want to stay with that same direction, okay? All right. We're also going to do the same thing we did earlier. So we have that one in the middle, so I'm going to put one towards the outside, then we're going to put one towards the inside. I am going to alternate different picks, different colors. Okay. I want to put a little something down towards the end. Actually, let's not put it right at the end. Okay. let's put it right up here. Okay. So we're putting inside and outside, so both sides, because even when you sit it on and it leans a little bit this way, you're going to see it all. Okay. Okay. And you want to bend them up. That one is a little bit large, so I'm putting it more in the middle. Okay. Let's see. Let's use a little bit of this white leaf. I really like this. It's very vibrant white, so it's really going to show up, and I want that to go more towards the back. Okay, I'm kind of bend it up a little. All right, I have tons of these little gold pieces, so I want to spread those kind of all around. Okay. So I'm just kind of placing them in and around. Okay. So right in here, we have our couple of leaves. All right. So you can bend these. Okay. Let's put this one up here. That's cute. All right, so remember you can bend the leaves. Okay. You're just pressing it right in to your project. So see, I just want it to kind of show up on top. All right. I really, really love this, so let's put a little bit of this in. Right. This is such a pretty color. And remember not to put too much down here because you're going to be putting your bow there. Okay, so I'm going to put one kind of towards the middle. Okay, I'm going to break these two apart. Alright, so one, like right in here. There we go. Then we'll put one right over here. There we go. Alright. So I'm going to put a few white on the inside. See how this is continuing our bow and how we're really sticking with that gold and white theme. Okay. Okay. Okay, so now we have this little gold pick. Okay, and this can also be broken up into many pieces. Right? Okay, so you can see it's distinct pieces. There's a little leaf. Okay. And there's a little few ball picks in here. and then there is 3 little ornaments together. So 3 little ornaments together is wonderful for any projects that you do. And I will often put these on the top. All right, so I'm going to put it right here. You see how cute that is with the 3 together? Okay. So now I'm going to put these kind of towards the inside and add a little bit more gold towards my inside. Kind of break up a little bit of that white that I have. Okay. There. All right, so I need just a little bit more white right in here. You can see. When we move to the other side, you'll be able to see the front a little bit better. Okay. So what I'm doing now is I'm just making sure that I have a good balance between the white and the gold. Okay. There we go. Right. I have a little bit of white here. So let's see, let's put a little bit of white in here. Make sure our ribbon is still up. I don't think we really need these. Okay, I have these. So I can just divide these and put them in, and then we can switch to the other side. I need some over here, a little bit right there, right, and a little bit right in here. Okay. All right, so if we have any other areas that need to be broken up with a little white, we have these. So like right in here, let's add a little white in there, and let's add a little white down here. There we go. All right, so now we're going to flip and do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so now the front will be towards you and the back will be towards me. Looks like we missed one of these. Well, let's see. Right there. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing we did on the other side. We're just going to do it on this side. Okay, so here's our picks. All right, so we'll take these out. Process on this side. Okay. Oops. So the first thing I like to do is just go ahead and cut them up. It really makes it a lot faster as you're going and putting things in your project. it also gives you an idea of where it's going to be easy to place things. Okay, so you can see we got quite a few out of this pick. Okay. This one is pretty large. So we're going to start off with this one. All right, and we're going to put it kind of on the top, right in here. Okay. Pick this apart. Goodness, there's more of this than I thought. Okay. All right, so now we're going to start placing things on both sides. So we'll have some in the front, some in the back. Okay? So even though it doesn't seem like you'll see the back, you will see some of the back. All right, let's start off putting in our little poinsettia. Okay. All right, so about halfway down, right in here. There we go. I want to put our little gold leaves in. Those are going to go more on the top. Okay, kind of down towards my bow. All right, is where I want these. Place them there. Place them here. There we go. All right. All right. I'm going to save this for last, just like we did the last time. Okay, and I'm going to start weaving in these pieces. I love these. You can really cut them into a lot of pieces. So they'll go a long way. Okay. Right. These are very pretty. I love that it is very wispy. That really has a nice big impact. Okay. We'll start adding some of our white berries along. Okay. So remember, we're going in one direction. So it's really important that you keep that direction going. It really helps that flow. Okay. And I want to make sure that I have gold and white kind of spread throughout. But we will save a few pieces to come back and make sure that we have a good mix. Right. We're going to put a little white in between these. Kind of break it up a little bit. There we go. All right, let's put some. Put some more gold in the front. All right. And some more white. They're a small piece, but they really do have a large impact. Okay, let's put this here. Oops. This back up. Okay. All right, so I have quite a few of these. We're going to just kind of spread them around. All right, so back. And front. Okay. Put another one in the front. Right up here. Right in there. Okay. We need a white right here. And also this one kind of stretches out a little so it keeps it more even. You definitely don't want spots in your project that really look like a hole. So make sure that you are checking as you're going to see if there's any areas that you really need to add a little bit more to. Let's see. In here, we need a little white right there. Okay. White right in there. Okay, so we're down to our big pick and a couple of the whites. Right. There's a little bit more. Okay, I'll add a little bit right up here. Right there. A little bit more right in here. All right, so now we're going to take this part okay. And remember, it doesn't matter where you place these, just that you have the elements on both sides. So if you placed it in one place on the other side, that is not going to matter. You just want it to repeat so that you get that same impact, okay? So, put this down in here. Yeah. I see a hole over here, so I'm going to put this in. All right. We have our 3 little ornaments together. Love that. We're going to put that right in here where that little ribbon is. Okay, we have this nice leaf. Let's put this up near the bow. Okay. We have one more white pick and then we'll be done. Okay, let's put a little bit in here. All right, so let's see. If we're missing any areas. Okay, so let's see. I think our white looks pretty good on that side. So I'm going to put a little bit of white right here. So a little bit of white right in here. Okay. And a little bit of white right in this area. Okay. Right, and then that'll be it. And then we will be done. Alright. Oh, and we didn't decorate our bow. So our bow is going to go right down at the bottom, And you really want to get really close to the bottom. So this is that metal piece. I want to make sure that I'm above the metal piece. And I want to have some greenery pieces in there because I don't want it to accidentally slide off. Okay. All right, I'm just going to tie it on. Trim it off. Okay. All right, there we go. So that's one. All right, let's put a little bit of something in our bow, and then we will tie the other bow on and we will be done. All right. So one thing I really like to do is just add a little bit to our bow. I have these really fun gold pieces. These are great for putting into the tops of trees as a tree topper, but they're also a lot of fun to add into your project. So I don't want it to be too long, so I am going to cut them down. But I'm going to take these and I'm going to put these in our bow. All right, so let's zoom in here on the bow. And I really love things like this. All I'm going to do is glue it right into the bow and then spread it out a little. Okay, so that's going to make it look a lot of fun. It's going to have a lot of fun in the bow. All right, so we'll cut a few more pieces. Okay, and what I like about these is they have these little swirly things at the end. Okay. So this is going to give another little pop of personality to our project. It's fun, it's whimsical, it's a little unexpected, and that's really kind of what you want. At least that's what I like. All right, I'm going to have one kind of coming down. All right, and there we go. We have done our bow. All right, here's the other side. We're going to put the bow on this side, and then we will be done. All right, so remember, you want to have a little bit of green in it. There we go. All right, so I'm going to put this on my fireplace, and I will post some pictures and let you see how it turned out. I really hope you enjoyed this project and that you will subscribe and come back to watch more. Thank you so much for watching my channel, and I will see y'all later. Bye, y'all. Here is how it looks on the mantelpiece. And you can see it works just perfectly with the tree that also has white and gold on it. You can see our little cutie curlies in here. All of our little cute things we put in it, and all of the extra lights. See, and here's our bows.